This podcast is sponsored by Kulabula, creators of websites, animation, and digital art. To get a 10% discount, go to kulabula.com and put in the discount code meditation. Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. I also have the Awakening Podcast, the Learn Polish Podcast, the Speaking Podcast, and the Crypto Podcast, and all can be found on roycon.com. Today, my guest, in France, but not French, please welcome Lily Allen-Duenas.
Thank you so much, Roy, for having me.
So I know that you're very interesting. I've seen a lot of the stuff that you're doing, but you might introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you. So welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in, all of the dear listeners out there. My name's Lily Allen-Duenas, and I am an international yoga and meditation teacher. I'm also the host of the Wild Yoga Tribe podcast and the founder of the Wild Yoga Tribe. It's a global community that seeks to kind of shine a light on the entire global yoga ecosystem. So we participate in discussions and hold workshops and classes in different healing modalities and yoga, meditation, pranayama, different things as well. So it's just a beautiful space, and I am lucky for all of the wonderful people who are here with me today, as well as part of the Wild Yoga Tribe community. So part of the podcast too, just I'll quick brief it, is I interview one yoga teacher each week from a different country around the world. So I'm trying to reach every corner of the globe. In the last couple of weeks, I've done Botswana and Bahrain and Costa Rica. So it's been just so fun to get to have these conversations, really vulnerable conversations, authentic conversations about yoga, spirituality, and everything in between. So I'm really grateful, Roy, that you had me onto your podcast today to talk about these things with you.
Excellent. And I know with the Speaking Podcast, that's my actual aim, is to have somebody from every single country, because it shows we're all connected. Because a lot of the time, we're kind of shown by the media to kind of have hatred and, them and us, and have a certain country that we hate because it's been conditioned into us. Whereas when you can listen to speakers and just hear their stories and everything, and it's the same with the meditation, you just drop all that and you just find we're all one.
Yeah, anything we can do to create more unity and less division, that's beautiful. That's the goal.
Exactly. So I'd like to know, was it yoga first or meditation, and how it all started?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I suppose I was a little girl growing up in California, Northern California, and I think I was always a little bit fast, type A, quick, very stressed out little kid, empathetic and compassionate, but always fast moving. And so I think around age 12, I kind of started looking for resources on how to kind of practice more calming techniques and inner peace. It was totally self-initiated. I was seeking these things out, and I found or heard that there was a kind of a meditation morning class for kids offered as part of a YMCA summer camp. So essentially, around age 12, I took a week-long morning meditation class, and that got me started. Of course, I wasn't a daily practitioner until I was, in my 20s, but it was a great introduction, and it was something I tapped into when I was younger as well, whenever I felt particularly overwhelmed or in need of some more space, in my mind and body and breath. Yoga came when I was about 16, 17. It was the summer. One of my friends had heard there was a yoga class happening at a local gym, and she just said, "Oh, do you want to go?" And I thought, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what is this? And so I decided to go with her on a whim, and just, within 2 minutes of being in that space, I could kind of feel like I was coming home. It's such a beautiful, moving meditation, such a practice of calming and stillness and an inward journey, right? I'm just get so fatigued going outward all the time. So it's just such a beautiful practice. So yoga and meditation for me are part of the same path. And I'm really grateful that I've had kind of early exposure to both.
It's amazing. I know that at that age, to actually 12 to do the meditation is fantastic. I wish they taught it in schools. I mean, that's what, and not just in schools, but if they'd done it in prisons and everything, instead of, bombarding them with toxic stuff, it would make a huge difference to mankind.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that there is a call for that. I think you're not the only one, Roy, bringing that up. I noticed there's more movements and more initiatives being kind of started and ignited globally. I can speak a lot for, of course, the United States. That's where I'm from. But there is mindfulness practices being taught in some schools, and yoga is actually now offered at my high school in California. It is an elective, like dance or art or drama. You can take yoga as your elective, and it was really fun. A couple of years ago, I was able to go back and teach a guest class there. So it was fun to be able to go back to good old Maria Carrillo High School.
Oh, that's amazing. So I know that you've got monks and gurus and everything. You might just tell me your journey, because you've traveled around to learn. So tell me the story.
Yeah, I was really fortunate that let's start here. In my past life, AKA, just a few years ago, I was in marketing management. So I did nonprofit marketing management for about 7 years. I got very fatigued and I wasn't feeling certainly very fulfilled. I was really grateful that I was serving on multiple boards of directors in my community. I was commissioning public art pieces. I got an artist from Lisbon to come in and do a big mural for us. Like I was definitely doing things I was proud of and excited about. But as there was a transition in my life with it's an old tried and true, but a big breakup kind of made me kind of do a lot of more internal work. And then through that very slow process of kind of investigating, okay, what should I do? What's my next step? I was trying very hard, Roy, not to run away. I was trying very hard to lean in and really find the right answer. And for me, one day in Shavasana, just laying there, was doing a lot of hot yoga in the morning, or at this local studio. And one day in Shavasana, it just was loud and clear. You need to be a yoga teacher. Like, this is something you need to help other people find more space for balance and self-care, and provide more of this support that you've gotten from the practice and from your teachers. You need to be that light for others. And so within just a couple of weeks, I'd asked my work for a 1-month sabbatical. I had my plane ticket to Kathmandu. I picked out my yoga studio. I'd put my deposit. I very quick to action when I feel like the voice resonates all the way through. So that was beautiful. And I was very lucky that I went to Nepal, and I did come back home after my month-long 200-hour TTC. But I quickly, packed everything up and sold things and boxed and got out of my apartment, and then became a nomadic global, international yoga teacher for a few years. I was traveling all over Asia and little bits of Europe and here and there, different places. But it was a big honor to be able to continue for a few years as a student in a lot of ways too. As you mentioned, Roy, I had so many trainings and certifications and courses and vipassanas and retreats that were all still focused on learning and on me being the student, which is still part of the cycle of my life, of my year. I need to still be a student. I always will be. And then also to be the teacher. And so to be able to teach yoga or, perform Reiki with clients in wellness centers in the Philippines, surf hostels in Sri Lanka, hotels in Bali. Like, it just was such an honor to have that space and to get to interact with such a global community, not just like in Sri Lanka, teaching to people from Sri Lanka. I mean, you have people all ages, all different cultures, different countries. They're coming in as well to these retreat centers or to these hotels. So that's kind of was a bit of the journey. I hope that was a good broad brushstroke, Roy. That worked?
No, definitely. And which was your favorite of all the different countries that you've been to? Where did you feel that your energy was the strongest?
Interesting question. Because since I really form, a community where I go, I usually stay for about a month or 3 months, a month or 2 or 3. I really feel like I'm part of each place I go. There's only been a couple of places where I didn't feel so energetically connected to the actual the land, the environment. But Rishikesh in northern India is definitely a second home away from home. It's known as the yoga capital of the world. And just the sheer amount of and volume of yoga there. It's like, imagine if you're in New York City and you're looking around and you see, every billboard. Imagine if every billboard was instead a yoga studio. Like, that's how dense Rishikesh is, with different yoga studios and also different holistic healing modality trainings and offerings. So it's just such a beautiful space, right, nestled outside the Himalayas with Ganga, the holy river going through it. It's really special. So my goal was to go there almost every year. That was my intention, but I only did it 2 years in a row before COVID hit and actually blocked me from going. I had a plane ticket and was ready to go on the 26th of March, and then COVID all knocked us down at the 18th. So I was not able to go. Not that, everything happens for a reason. It's okay. But I do look forward. Hopefully 2022 would be a year I could return. I think the Philippines will always hold a special place in my heart. It was one of my favorite jobs at Wellness Land. Wellness Land is in Cebu, and it is a holistic healing center. Dr. Rami Paredes, he is a medical doctor who also does alternative medicine as well, and specifically works a lot with people who have genetic disorders or immune compromised individuals. And being able for me to teach yoga with them and to be able to do Reiki, it was just so special. So that's Philippines for sure, special place.
Brilliant. I think that, just with all the different people that are practicing, whether meditation or yoga, you just find a nicer circle of people. They're not out to get you. They're not out to, rob you, or they seem to be a better circle of people. And you must have known, the fact that you started so young, at 12, you must have noticed then it wasn't so popular, but compared to now, and I think it's amazing to see so many more people getting into meditation and yoga as well.
I agree. I think that's kind of why I named my company and everything Wild Yoga Tribe, because I do feel this tribe element where it's just such a safe space to be vulnerable, to do the work, that internal work where things feel messy and sticky and icky and horrible and tough and uncomfortable. It's the support you can receive in a community. Or in a sangha, which is a tradition, one of the gems of Buddhism. That's also something that I do a lot of retreats and learnings with. And right now I'm even doing a 3-month rains retreat with Plum Village, which is Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery and retreat center here in France. It's all online because of COVID, but it's definitely the sangha and being able to be in a community of people who are also practicing and doing the work. That support is just invaluable.
So your tribe is basically kind of setting somebody up to be able to be the teacher both in yoga and meditation. Is that the
I wouldn't say that it's setting I'm not doing any teacher training. So actually, a good thing you brought that up. I'm not teaching teachers or teaching students to become teachers. I'm really more so very focused on helping people who feel overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, lost, disconnected, just in complete chaos. I'm just trying to shine a light and just help them find their own inner light then, and light their own candles and carry them with themselves, empower them, give them tools for self-regulation, self-awareness. There's so many different modalities and things to tap into, and not everything will resonate with everyone. That's totally fine. And that's part of why I feel so honored that I have different skills and interests and expertise in different areas that I can maybe give people more tools and techniques that could align with their own energy and environment. So I'm very interested in helping people just kind of come home to themselves. I think that's number one for me.
Okay. And I believe you're vegan, yeah?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I do love talking about it, but
no, because I think I'm not myself, but I know a load of my friends are, and I just see that the food that we eat, and I studied, there was one book I read, and the people that were living the longest were the Hunza in the Himalayas. And it was like once a week or something like that, they might eat meat, but it was mainly all vegetables and everything. And I mean, I can see from you, you look extremely healthy. Sometimes people have this notion that, oh, if you don't eat meat, you're going to get weak and everything. And I mean, I know it's wrong. So you may just talk on, because I know how important food is to our body and mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, food, what I think is, I guess something very sweet a monk shared was, if you see a banana on the table, or a plum, you just see this, and then you pick it up and you look at it, you look at the color, you feel the texture, and then you eat it, and then it disappears. Like it is gone, except it's not really gone. It's just it becomes your body. It becomes the cells of your body. Your body processes it and digests it. And of course, some of it is flushed out, but quite a bit of that is absorbed and then is repurposed and literally becomes our cells. And so it's like, what other what other part, the story of the monk was saying was, imagine if another being, another creature to survive said, I'm going to need your thumb, or I'm going to need your pinky finger to keep going on. Would we give any other creature like just our pinky finger? Maybe a very beloved loved one, if you needed a kidney or a lung, but it's just, what other creature would we just give our whole pinky finger to for the sake of survival? It's like, we are so connected to everything else, so connected. And for me, imagining eating the pinky finger of any creature is just very sad, because that creature has a mother and doesn't want to die. I mean, that's something I think we can all imagine. Any creature, you go to squish a spider and it runs away from you. It doesn't want to die. And what is it doing? But it's just seeking warmth. It's just trying to be in a comfortable place. It's just trying to survive. And so anyway, that's my mentality. It's very Buddhist. And I know all listeners could feel differently and have different habits. I'm not trying to convince anyone. You can do your own reading, research, documentary, watching, YouTube channels, scrolling. I don't care. I can't convince you, but I think that there's going to be a minute, something someday, maybe that will hit you. And maybe then you'll think, and then maybe you will just make a small choice, and then maybe that'll snowball. Maybe it won't. It's all about you. But in regards to the the food element, and you'll be weak and you'll be that's very interesting, because technically in Ayurveda, which is the science of life, which is the oldest medical system in existence for treatment of the body, and it's a holistic, not a one size fits all, but they believe that the only time really you need to eat meat is if you are really, really, really ill. Like, just, you need that strength, you need that, like you really kind of need the life force of another being to supplement the life force that is coming out of you. And the same, they think you can eat meat, or you should eat meat if you are about to go to war, and you need that extra, of life force that meat would provide. But other than that, it's like, you don't need it. And if you look at our teeth, if you look at our intestines, if you look at all the enzymes we have in our mouth, like, science will tell you we don't really need meat, and it can actually create some issues in our digestive system and can kind of be really tough, the more meat we eat. And especially even if it's farm raised, even if it's, super quote unquote clean meat, it still is meat, and that still is tough on the body. But again, please do your own research, do your own reading, discover your own truths. That's all it's about. But I am a certified vegan nutritionist, and I do love helping people make transitions, even if it's small transitions to, I want to be vegetarian, or I want to be vegan. I want to just try it for 1 month and see what happens. If you have that mentality of, okay, I just maybe could dip my toes into it, I'm happy to help. Because there's I did once when I was in my 20s, when I was becoming vegan, someone decided to do it with me, but all she really ate was just pasta and margarine, which is a fake butter, an oil based. It's just pasta, butter, bread. It was very hard because that's just not nourishing. And we have so many macro and micronutrients available to us. It's incredible. You don't have to be eating algae flakes and seaweed and acai berries and goji berries to really like balance your system. I mean, you of course can, have whatever superfoods feel great. If you love maca powder and you love spirulina, like That's awesome. I'm gonna high five you. But if you were just interested in saying, okay, how can I actually eat something on my plate that's tasty and balanced and will give me a ton of energy? Because I used to be really into weightlifting as a vegan or as a vegetarian as well. And I had no issues. I used to run a 5K every morning for 3 years as a vegetarian, no issues. The strongest man on this planet who can lift more weight than any other human is a vegan. Like there's so many things for us to question. Like, why do we think we need so much meat slash protein? Why? Like,
Because we've
who
been
told us?
conditioned by the media and the government, who've been pushing milk, who've been pushing bread, who've been pushing all the wrong foods, unfortunately. And then, I mean, I grew up with that, and I even see they're still doing it now. They give milk to kids and everything. And I know that with all the hormones and the antibiotics and everything in milk, I mean, I don't drink milk myself, and you know, and I'm trying to get my son. I don't have it in my house, but his mother has it in her house, and it's like, unfortunately, when we know these things, you know, we should try to, you know, give them up if we can.
Yeah, I love how you said that. It's like if we know these things, we should try to give them up if we can. And it's very interesting when you can't tell, obviously, your ex-wife, right? You can't tell her get the milk out. You know, it has XYZW in it, and the scientists say XYZW. You can say that to her, but she won't hear it. Like it just bounces off like water on a duck, just slides right off. It takes that moment where something shifts. It's something subtle. It's something inside our own being and body and mind where we start to think, huh, I wouldn't eat my cat. I don't like it knowing that other countries eat cats. How is that different? You know, like it's just one thing and so inside. And it is sad. It is sad for me, Roy, knowing that I can't do more to help on that. But if anyone has had that little shift, that's when I'm really, really grateful and honored that I get to step in and help people make transitions.
And what about, like, say, soya? Because I heard that's bad because they're trying to push the soya down now, and you can buy it very cheap. But like from what I've heard, because that's my fear, is that I know a lot of people are trying to change to be vegetarian or vegan, but like it looks like there's a lot of toxic by the government and all the whole powers that be pushing the wrong foods into people.
Yeah, lobbyists and the politicalization and the everything that comes along with propaganda and being told things by advertising, it's tricky, it's slippery slope. But for my personal feelings on soy is, okay, I suppose I could always be more educated. I could always watch another documentary and really get the facts real down. But just from where I stand right now, Roy, I know that soy is an endocrine disruptor, and that means that it can throw your hormone system out of balance. And so the same that can be said when you use a plastic water bottle, one of those single serves that is very, very high in BPA, bisphenol A. It's a chemical, the plastic single serve. And if you have these single serve, you know, you go, I mean, there's so many situations. You don't even have to be purchasing a single serve bottle of water. It could be a lot of other foods, but if that happened to be in any heat, if you're reusing it, it could be leaching another endocrine disruptor into your system. There's quite a lot of foods and substances, as well as even creams and facial products we use that are endocrine disruptors. This is not absent from our lives, but in soy, I always like to go with moderation. Soy milk, there's soy yogurts, there's soy cheeses, there's soy, there's so tofu and tempeh, and there's so many great offerings of soy as substitutes that as a vegan, I like to have some soy in my diet because it is great, packed with protein. And if you're going to do soy milk, it's fortified with a lot of great vitamins. But I always believe moderation is key. So you can try then to have oat milk, but then you can have some soy cheese, or you can have nut-based cheese, and then you can have some soy milk. But I think just being careful to balance, because there, of course, is some horror stories out there of consuming way too much soy, like as a male, and then, that throwing your system so out of balance that you could even begin lactating. Like your estrogen levels would just shoot up way too high, or estrogen and progesterone. Forgive me, I'm forgetting which one really would elevate
the
that much.
estrogen is for the woman, that the man get. Yeah,
Perfect.
estrogen,
Thank
yeah.
you. So that's my advice is like, there's no need to just, turn your nose up at the edamame at the sushi restaurant when you're hopefully just getting an avocado roll. But we'll see. Did I do an okay job with that?
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, I'm becoming more in tune with what I'm eating anyway, whether the breakfast or whatever. Like, I listen to my body and I see, okay, am I getting tired after this? And sometimes people, they just assume they get tired after their main dinner, but you shouldn't. And that's because you're either eating too much or you're eating the wrong foods. And if you just listen to your body, and the same with the water, I mean, you drink the water there. I make sure that the water that I have, goes through a filter and then an ozone generator. Because I mean, the most important thing, I believe, is having the water, decent water as well, with during the day as much as you can.
Oh, absolutely. Water is just such a gift. I'm completely enamored with water. I have a big joke with a lot of my friends, and forgive me, I know it's an inside joke, but we all say to each other, especially during, a warm day, we'll just point at each other and say, hydrate or die. Because it's a joke, but it's really true. You have to hydrate or you will die. But I love water, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was living on this very small island in Cambodia, it was called Koh Rong Sam Loam. I was teaching over there for a couple months. We had access to like the worst water ever. Like, it had been so filtered that it was stripped of all the minerals. And when you drink it, you don't feel like you're drinking water. Like, it doesn't even feel like water anymore, because it's been orphaned from all of the nutrients and minerals it offers us. So I do think that I'm glad that you spend extra special care loving your water and treating it.
Yeah. And I mean, and just for some people as well, because a lot of people, they use the tap water when they're making, whether it's potatoes, rice, or whatever kind of food they're doing. Everything that I do goes through the same process. And I think you should do this, because sometimes you forget, if it's the toxic water from the tap, which it is, if you start researching what they're putting into the water, that's going into your food and then it's going into your belly. So you should, the whole process for anything that you cook with.
I'm particularly sad when people think that bottled water, just a plastic bottle, is better than the tap, though, because that actually has less people in the government actually regulating the quality, like the bottles, less than the tap water that flows through your faucets. So I do think that if you don't pick the bottle thinking you're doing super great, go for the tap, always the tap. But I mean, of course, unless you're in India.
I have a device, I don't know what it's called, but it's an electronic device that tells you the particles. And I remember doing a test, I got different bottles of water, because I mean, if I was playing squash or something, I used to I'd buy the bottle of water there. No more. I bring my own water now, always, everywhere. My son does the same. I make sure that that I've a bottle for life, or whatever you call it. But I remember when I checked the particles in the bottled water, the tap water was better. And people are just convinced. You see loads of people buying gallons of water thinking they're doing good for themselves, and it ain't like that. You just have to I think, even say the makeup or anything, because you mentioned putting the cream in the face and everything. Every single thing, if you can't put it into your mouth, you shouldn't be putting it on your skin, because it's going into your body. And just be conscious of every single thing. I know it might seem overwhelming for some people. Just do one change a week or 5 changes a week. And I even have an app on the food, and I scan it, and the amount of times that we're fooled, and you see natural this, natural that, and they can say natural when it's got 1% natural. There's so many loopholes that they use. And you can just check the ingredients. Like, my main thing now is I'm really trying to cut out the sugar. I mean, I don't take sugar anyway. I don't take sugar in a coffee or anything like that. But I know it's in everything. It's in so many products that,
like, every sauce on the shelf practically has sugar in it. Yeah. Or the breads, or it's just is amazing that if it's been processed, packaged in something square or plasticky or cardboardy, like it likely could have quite a fair amount of sugar in there. Yeah. And what that does for the immune system is really sad. It's really rough. Sugar is very hard on us. It causes a lot of inflammation. So if you have any type of joint pain, if you have any type of back pain, if you have any type of physical ailment, removing sugar from your diet to the best of your ability, of course. I mean, you don't have to be the person who says no to the one hopefully, like, let's go for some coconut sugar or some muscovado, like, let's see as raw as we can get, or stevia, perhaps. I don't know much about stevia, so I'm not that expert to give, but I'd say if it's not a bleached white sugar, if you can be the person who has one little spoon in your morning coffee, nobody's going to be sad at that. But if you can be more conscious of the sugar that is hidden in practically everything that's been processed, you'll do a long way to alleviating a lot of your symptoms.
Oh, absolutely. So I know you've met different monks and everything. So what did you learn besides the story you told us earlier? What other things did they teach you?
Yeah, I'm just so grateful for all the time I was able to spend in monasteries or and with the monks. There's so much to learn. They're so sweet. I think something I'm really appreciative of is when the monks are really honest with how, I mean, they could have been a monk since age 8 and they're currently 40. It could be a very long, and they're not brand new, oh, I was ordained like 5 years ago. Like, these are long journeys. But then for this monk who's been just dedicated for 30 years to meditating, they wake up early, they meditate for hours in a day, they do so much service. And for them still to say, my mind still wanders a lot in meditation. My mind still goes all over the place. It's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness. Because, I think there's so many misconceptions about meditation. And that's something I really am excited that I'm going to launch an online webinar for free for people to join about these misconceptions of meditation. Because what I've learned from the monks, from my masters, and all these gurus and teachers along the way is could be meditating, how in the West, when we've just, absorbed things and spit them back out, we could be doing a lot of it wrong. And I think there's a lot that I can shed light on that would hopefully help kind of water those seeds in the right way and help, create this fertile soil for people to kind of say, okay, I should be more compassionate, or, oh, my inner voice talks to myself like that, like I should think about that, or various elements to the practice. So I think that's been a big gift, is whenever monks give personal stories about different elements of things that I really connect with. Like a monk this morning, I was listening to my Dharma talk for the day, a part of the Plum Village retreat. She's a nun in the tradition, and she was saying how she feels like when she meditates, she can feel a lot of tension in her stomach, in her belly. She said when she was a little girl, her belly was distended a little, like if you can picture a child with that big swollen belly, who maybe isn't nourished very well. She said when she was little, she had a little bit of a distended belly, and that the people in her, she said the aunties and grandmas, that was her exact phrases, aunties and everyone would poke at her belly. And she said to this day, she still carries this kind of tension there because she still hasn't quite accepted that part of herself. And for me to hear a nun, in a big brown robe, who's been, part of a tradition for decades, to say, I still haven't maybe accepted how my stomach looks. Wow. Oh, and she's doing such a powerful work and so many hours. And for me to just know that, okay, I've been having a dedicated daily meditation practice for, oh man, a little over half a decade, really disciplined, but it's, I meditate from between an hour to 20 minutes every day. And she's meditating 5 hours every day. And she's still, hasn't mastered it at all, and everything's not super easy. And that it's those moments, Roy, that I feel like really touch me the most. And I'm just so grateful whenever those monks or nuns share these personal stories.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of people think that, when you get into meditation, that you have emptiness, and that's why they think they can't meditate. They expect to go into a blank and just think of nothing, and it's like, it's just, that's why they give up. They go, I've tried meditation and it doesn't work for me. And you say, oh yeah, how often did you try it? Once, or I tried it for a week and they gave it up. And it's just like, there was a monk that I met a few times, Gilong Tong, and I remember him saying that, washing your hands, just feel the water. And ever since he said it to me, I'm really way more present. Or brushing your teeth, that you're not looking at your phone, or you're not thinking what I'm doing, that you're feeling the bristles. And even when I'm out in the garden, and I had breakfast this morning out in the garden, and I just watching the butterflies. I was just in awe looking at the butterflies the whole time, just being present. And that's a form of meditation. You don't have to go in, do 5 hours, well and good for the nun, but if that's your calling, but you can just be present, and that brings into a meditative state.
Absolutely. That's mindfulness. That is meditating off the cushion, off the mat. It's bringing it into your daily life, which is, of course, the goal. The goal isn't to need to sit in seated cross-legged meditation for 20 hours a day. That's not the goal. The goal is to be able to move through your life in a state of presence, awareness, of not resisting and pushing and pulling, of just being more content. Another quote that I thought was so powerful that this nun said this morning was, relaxation is the mark of self-acceptance. So when we're able to be relaxed, when we move through our life, not as stressed, not as in a hurry and running around, that's the mark of a little bit of self-acceptance and peace. And I also today, just before our call, Ray, I was sitting in my peaceful meditation. No, I was sitting in my meditated for 20 minutes after the Dharma talk. And then I had some laundry to hang up, and it's wet. And I just meditated during hanging up the laundry too. I was in silence, and I was focusing on all the textures of the different fabrics as I was hanging it on the drying rack. And as I was placing things, I was not letting my mind go to breakfast, lunch, groceries, errands, to-do list today, my conversation with you. I was doing my best, and forgive me, I'm sure it slipped quite a few times. It wasn't, of course, perfect, but the intention was to be as mindful and as present with what was happening right then and there. There wasn't anything else I needed to be doing. I wasn't doing laundry to have clean clothes. I was just doing the laundry to do the laundry. That's it.
What I've noticed, and I think without even realizing it, my mother, she's really present with anything that she does, and now I'm like that. I wasn't like that always. I was always kind of go and get as much done and beat myself up if I didn't get half my to-do list of 100 items a day. And now it's just kind of, you're totally present. But what I've noticed is with her, she gets so much done, and I'm the same now. It's like time slows down when you're present, because sometimes people are rushing, but they're not really focused, and they're just kind of on a few things. Yeah, you can get a lot done, but if you're just there, like even playing with, say, the child or whatever, when you're present, you're not playing with the child with the phone or distracted with something else. You're just present. Then you have that quality time. The child feels it, and then you can go and do something else. But you get way more focus. I don't know. Do you find that? I feel time slows down. You get so much more done.
Yeah, I agree. And the quote that I like is, if you're rushing, you're only getting better at rushing. That's what you're working on. That's what you're improving. That's what you're getting better at. You're practicing rushing. I don't want to practice rushing. Of course, human. And I told you too, Ray, my energy is very like that as well. That's how I'm naturally inclined, my causes and conditions, my ancestors. I'm naturally inclined to be in a rush and hurry and a million to-do lists and check things off and juggle 10 million things, because I'm, an entrepreneur like you. Like, I have my own little, excuse me, it's not little, but I have my own thing. I have my own company. I have my own tribe, my own community. I strive to support and be active with and present with. But how do you do it though, Ray? Because you have 5 podcasts. I feel like you must just be a whirling dervish a lot of the time. How are you juggling and balancing so well?
I feel that, I just I have in front of me there where I want to do the podcast, as in when to release them. And I just try to stick to that. And, sometimes I'll get very productive on a Sunday, but then there's other times that, my son will say, I want to stay an extra day with you. I say, great. And I find that I pick up on the Monday, and it just falls in place. It's never a case of, beating myself up. Oh, I was supposed to edit this. It just gets done. And I have little things, I like, say, an Excel sheet with all the podcasts, and I color them. So now at the start of the week, they're all red. And then when I do release one, it goes to yellow. And when it's 2, it's green. I know, and it's just because then when I'm going in checking, because I constantly do check the numbers and everything, because I know then what the marketing is working if I do a post or whatever I'm doing to make sure, because sometimes you take your eye off the ball and the numbers can drop. So it's just a case of tracking everything. And just by going in and I can go, okay, I didn't post that one on the BitChute channel. I didn't put that on the YouTube channel. And just being conscious of that. But it's never kind of beating myself up over it. It's just kind of, okay, there's some weeks, yeah, I don't get, there's been times where there hasn't been meditation podcast gone out. There's been times where the speaking one hasn't gone out, but there's other times where I get 3 out, and it is what it is, and I don't, whereas before I'd be beating myself up for something like that. Now it is what it is, and just kind of, yeah, it'll be there and it'll be done, when it gets done.
That internal dialogue is so important.
Absolutely.
It really is.
So you do the Reiki as well, yeah?
Yeah, I do.
So you might explain a bit about that, because I know I've tried it a few times, and yeah, I found it actually amazing, but I've never actually heard much about it, or the study of it and everything. So you might, I know it's the foot going to the different parts of the body, but you might explain a little bit to people.
Yeah, so Reiki is about it's about healing, and it can be healing the chakras, healing arthritis, healing an emotional trauma or wound. It can be those different koshas, those different part of our bodies, the different sheaths, different energies. It's about a Reiki practitioner, Reiki healer, being a conduit for this universal energy to flow into and out of and through the hands, which are these incredible, we have minor chakras in both of our hands. These are these incredible centers. And what do you do the moment you have a bellyache? You put your hand right on your stomach. Or if you have a headache, you massage your temples with your hands. Everything is with the hands. They're these very powerful sources of energy flowing out. So Reiki if a Reiki session would be about 60 minutes, and I would have a client on similar to a massage table, if that's available. If not, it could be a yoga mat. And it would be first you focusing energy on the physical body, always for the physical plane, to kind of you hover your hands over these key centers of energy in the body, different organs, different joints. And then you go back and you start to finish again, from toes to tip of head, with the chakras to balance those. And then what I think is most, of course, it's very subtle. It's this shift and unlocking and untangling and unraveling these subtle energies. And the Reiki practitioner needs to have done a lot of cleansing and purifying to make sure that there's no blockages in her channels, or she's been prepared to be this vessel for this energy. And there's rules, you can, as the practitioner, should wear white, can't wear black. There's different stones and crystals you can use to help with the energy work. But I do think that Reiki practitioners, almost all of them will be in the Usui method, who is the founder of Reiki, with a beautiful long story. It will have to be for another day. But every Reiki practitioner perhaps has a little different energy signature. So if you have worked with someone before and you thought, not for me, I would encourage you don't eat one apple and say, fruit, I don't like fruit, not for me. You definitely would try to, eat an orange or banana or an avocado or whatever. You're going to be a little bit more adventurous. And so I would advise people to, just like there's different styles of yoga, different teachers, different energy and different characteristics and personalities, there's different Reiki energies as well. And for me, some of the most important time is after the session is actually over, when we're having a really nice, discussion about what the patient and client experienced and what energy they felt. I've heard it feeling like under a sheet of ice, or like electricity starting at the toes, or a pulsing, or like something was, even someone told me it felt like something like smoke was just, coming off. And it was so bizarre, because I really would have described it the exact same way. It felt like black smoke was coming. It's just amazing how it's complete silence. That person is in Shavasana, eyes closed. There's really no physical contact. It's just the hands hovering, but there's such an extreme energy exchange. It's really beautiful.
Interesting. I'm sure people should check it out. Definitely. Listen, Lily, thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. So how can people get in contact with you?
Well, thanks for asking. So, listeners, my website is wildyogatribe.com. My podcast can also be found there at wildyogatribe.com/the podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, iTunes. It's on all of anything Google Podcasts. If you're listening with Stitcher or anything, it'll be there. Wild Yoga Tribe podcast. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and all those places at Wild Yoga Tribe. And you're welcome to email me at wildyogatribe@gmail.com. Of course, send me a DM on social, start asking me questions, start coming up with ideas. I'm happy to help. I have a meditation profile and I offer free meditations on Insight Timer. If you have that app, it's free. And then I have free yoga classes available on YouTube at Wild Yoga Tribe. But I'm happy, of course, I teach private yoga classes, private meditation classes, and I'll be doing some group workshops and webinars, as I said. So make sure you tap into my social media and check out my website for the offerings.
Excellent. Okay. No, perfect. And I'll make sure I'll put all the links in the podcast description. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's all for the meditation podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. It all helps. Until next week, take care. This podcast is sponsored by Kulabula, creators of websites, animation, and digital art. To get a 10% discount, go to kulabula.com and put in the discount code meditation.